Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the B2B Revenue Leadership Podcast. Hey, it's another year, another time to make some more money, and I've got the course for you. Start the Conversation, Get the Meeting will help your team, both business development, sales development, get into those new cold accounts, whether that function is under marketing or sales. I'll help you with that by starting organic, natural conversations, not pitching. Have people open up with you, build up a connection with them, understand your total addressable market, prioritize it, and put in a system that scales, that's predictable, that works the way you want it to work instead of the old school pitch. Believe me, I've sat through so many of these cold calling seminars, courses, books, and I've been doing it for 30 years, and it's evolved. And what I'm doing today is what's working in today's world. It works naturally, and people are just loving it, getting meetings, closing deals, and doing it without the rejection that is typically there in sales. So check it out at b2brevenue.com under the training tab. You can schedule a call with me. We can talk it over. I'll explain how it works and how we can work together on it. You can buy it per student, or I'll customize it for your particular product and team and coach you through that process. Also, if you're a sales leader and you want predictability, you want direction, momentum, and control with your deals, you can sign up for that course as well. Same type of model, a year-long access to it. It's content, community, and coaching, all included at b2brevenue.com. You can get my free ebook there on how companies make product selections. That's all free. Let's get into the interview, but I want to make sure you're checking out my partners. They're in the show notes. This week, it's Pipedrive and CoVideo. Pipedrive is the new CRM. It's been out for 5 years. I've been using it forever. I love that. It's connected up with your email, your calendar, and now they have team capabilities. CoVideo is the video email system. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's the way to break into new accounts. It's so much more engaging than text. Check them out. Also, make sure you're checking me out on LinkedIn, Brian G. Burns on LinkedIn. Let's get into the interview. I'll sum it up at the end. Hey, Kristen, thanks for joining us today as a way of getting started. Tell us about yourself.
I currently founded and am running a digital marketing agency. It's called Zhivago Partners. And this comes as a follow-on to decades of being a revenue coach to CEOs and entrepreneurs. And before that, I was running a advertising agency in Silicon Valley. So I've been in the tech industry for decades also. And just my whole thing is helping people realize their dreams, helping CEOs and entrepreneurs understand what their customers want and how they want to buy, which is what my book's all about, basically reverse engineering successful sales so you can create new sales in quantity. And now I have this amazing team of about 28 people, and we just do digital marketing and everything else that companies need in order to make more sales.
And what do you see working today? Is it very particular based off of each account, or?
Yes, that's a big part of it. There are very few generalities that are working right now. You have to do the baseline. You've got to have decent content, a decent site. You know, there's a lot of things that have become industry standard, but it's not enough anymore. There's too much competition. Everybody can see what you're doing. It's more competitive than I've ever seen it in all the years I've been doing this. I would say this is probably the most challenging time in marketing because of that. But there are things that do work.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more, because I think a lot of people are still playing the 10-year-old kind of HubSpot playbook.
Yeah, that's true. And it doesn't work. It's enough. I mean, it kind of gets you on the table, but nobody wants to eat. You know, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work as well, certainly.
Right.
Because everyone's doing it.
Yes, exactly. So then you have to go beyond. And that's something that we are absolutely obsessive about right now for all of our clients. And we are finding that the clients who go beyond set it and forget it are doing way better than the clients who are just hoping they can put their marketing on automatic pilot, because nobody's falling for that anymore. So you have to be personal. You have to reach out. You have to interact. People are expecting interaction now.
Yes.
So you have to have somebody who owns that in the company or outside. It takes time. It takes money. It takes investment, the kind of investment that a lot of us don't have when we're running a business. So you have to figure out how to farm it out without making it impersonal. It's a whole different ballgame than it was even a year and a half or 2 years ago.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more. And I'd even say, every 3 months, I kind of reevaluate.
Yes, it's true. It's happening that fast. Yeah. That is correct.
Because I think everything's kind of moving up the stack on the internet.
Yes. That's correct.
Yeah, we went from websites, and then everyone tried to make their website a hub.
Mm-hmm.
Now there are social stacks, as well as content stacks like Medium, YouTube, podcasts, and then within each of them there's sub products that are specialized on certain personas, and then you got influencers. And then you get all the algorithms for each of those, of which type of content, what time of day.
Yeah, and it's even, of course, because Google owns 95% or thereabouts of the search market. When they burp, everybody gets indigestion. I mean, it's just, and then they all try to figure out, what was it that I ate? What did I do? How did that happen?
Yeah.
And we just figured out for one client, the keywords they were being found for took a sudden dip at a certain point, and we were like, whoa, just like overnight. And it turns out Google set up a new algorithm that says, I'm going to reward sites with more content and hurt basically the sites with less content. And so this particular client who we had picked up fairly recently just wasn't deep enough on their site. And it reminds me of when they decided that they were going to split up mobile rankings from desktop rankings. That was a big tsunami through the whole web community. So here we have a monopoly who changes the game overnight and then doesn't tell you. You have to figure it out. You have to go back and talk to all the people and try to figure out what it was that they were deciding among their 200 algorithms, that this one was suddenly more important and it took precedence over everything else.
Yeah. So
it's tough.
Yeah, and it's creating an enormous market for, very niche specialization. But it's hard to distinguish who has expertise versus just has a label or a title.
Yeah, that's true. And it's one of the reasons I've actually built the company here so that there's me as a revenue coach on top, which actually gives us quite a differentiation because I have business wisdom. And then there's a bunch of specialists, and we just keep improving. I mean, if we try to get the very best people in those spots who have the business awareness and can approach this as a business-like thing rather than just knowing a few things and then putting up your shingle and saying I'm an SEO expert.
Yeah.
So they have to be careful of that. I have so many clients come to us and say, well, we spent X dollars and we didn't get anything for it. And by the way, when you start working with them, sometimes you discover that you are also having a problem. And then you start realizing that the clients who are the most successful are willing to be more interactive themselves, personally. And so that's something, or they have the knowledge to make content or help us make content that goes beyond the usual industry generic vanilla blah blah.
Right. Yeah. The top
and
5
that's hard
this
too.
Or the top 5 that.
Yeah. But so people are getting very picky. They're getting very good.
Really?
About about finding content that's helpful. And of course, YouTube is big on that. My husband must spend an hour a day just looking at, YouTube makes things. So he's very interested in the how-to market has become big. And because Google now owns YouTube, I'm going to say Yahoo, but they have an advantage there. It's turning into a how-to search engine
It is. And they're also, if you don't put ads on your content, you'd get deprioritized. I've noticed that with my channel. I was like, what happened? And all of a sudden, so either you decide to torture your your community, or you make them work to find you.
Yeah, what's terrible about torture, marketing torture, I love that phrase. I'm going to steal it from you. I'm going to give you credit, but I'm going to steal it from you.
You can keep it.
The problem with marketing torture is that it works.
But that's, they don't do it.
It works better than not torturing them. And of course, you have to be courteous and you have to be careful. But, people hate pop-ups, but they do work.
Yeah.
So we're all living in this ethical dilemma. I have so many clients who are like, oh, don't do that, because that's just so irritating when you're reading an article and thing pops up. Well, then you try it for them and it turns out they get, 33% more contacts or whatever. So it's a real dilemma right now.
And help us take us through the journey. It's like a new client that's a great match for you. Where do you start, and what's the process look like?
Well, that's a great question. Thank you for asking. Well, first of all, because I'm of a certain age, even though I'm very technical, fortunately, I jumped into tech early on. So I've been on the bleeding edge all this time. So yes, I've been around the block, but I'm also technical. So they get that. And I work best with baby boomer business owners, and that goes kind of down to the 45-year-old and plus range, who have built a successful business and are now like deer in the headlights going, whoa, 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 whoa.
Stop the clock.
Stop the clock. What happened? I don't get it. What, and they're good people. They're good, solid citizens. They've taken care of their customers, and they're just frankly, they're just petrified. I mean, what happened? Who took away my ability to get more business?
Yeah.
So there's that audience, which has been very good for us. And they trust me because, I'm up there. I have some wisdom. And then I've combined myself with that wisdom with all of these specialists. So then we say, okay, first of all, we do some research of the market. We look at what competitors are doing, which is completely transparent. Now you can figure out your best competitors' every move. You figure that out. You do a whole lot of keyword research, what people are looking for, how they are trying to find you, which is always different than how you think they're trying to find you. I do customer interviews, and I've written about that whole topic in my book, Roadmap to Revenue, because it's all about learning how to sell the way your customers want to buy, which is different from how you want to sell. Yeah. So we do that. So we do all of that analysis and build the systems the client has to become part of. We have to get into their Google Analytics. We have to get them into our project management system. We have an operations center that we build for them, so they have statistics at their fingertips all day. So we do that. So there's that baseline. Who are you? Who are you selling to? Who are these people? What do they care about? I interview them. So I come back and I actually know who the customer is. I've talked to them. I give all that data to management. And by the way, one of the things I always talk about in speeches is when I first talk to a company, they always say, oh, this is what's important to our customer. And I say, okay, that makes sense. 10 things, whatever. They're all okay. It all makes sense. Then I interview the customers and their list is completely different every time.
Yeah.
So the whole company is in this direction, trying to sort of force feed their selling process to the customer who's sitting there going, not quite what I'm looking. Can you just answer this one question? So you try to bridge that gap with real data that then drives better decisions. And I do a lot of management coaching as well, because there are so many myths and weaknesses and that kind of thing. You're actually your own worst enemy when it comes to marketing. So we build all of that, and then we start building campaigns that include everything that needs to happen for SEO, for social, for whatever is going to work with your audience. And there's a lot of lessons along the way. Like one of the lessons I'm learning right now is that there are customers, my clients, who know their business inside and out, And if you ask them to rant on any subject, they're just perfect. They give you information you can't find anywhere else, which is what everybody's looking for.
Yeah.
So that's beautiful, works out beautifully, and we can write fantastic articles for them. That's working really well. But if the our client is kind of a salesperson who's just selling some third-party application or something, they don't have that data in their head. So then we have to find a resource that can write those unusual, helpful, useful articles. And we do. It's one of the reasons I've set my company up so that we can go out and get anybody who has that wherever they are in the United States. It works out really well.
And how much time do you spend on the content that would get organic search results versus like Google AdWords that you just buy the...
It depends on the customer. Yeah. It really does. It's actually geography. Like we have a retail jewelry store, family-owned, 1905 since 1905 client in a particular area of Massachusetts. So we really focus on the local because they really want people to come in their store. And that's completely different than a SaaS company selling software as a service across the United States or an equipment company that's selling internationally to 65 countries. So it completely depends on the customer, our client, and who their customers are and how they would look for them, understand what they're selling, and then want to buy from them.
And like, what is the cost trade-off? Obviously, if you have like a worldwide SaaS company, content is much more cost-effective than Google AdWords. I mean, you could centralize it on target cities, San Francisco, New York, whatever. Mm-hmm. And obviously, if they're in a highly competitive space, you're up at $20, $50 a click.
Mm-hmm. That is true and it goes down to $1 or less a click for some things, but you're right, for the highly technical niche markets, it can be $20 or $30 a click. But one client for them could be $100,000 to $1 million a year. So if they're doing like business services or something, so they don't mind spending $20 a click. Yeah. If we then follow through properly when the person comes to the site, they get what they need and they want to continue.
And which of those clients are you equally capable for, or at what point do you say, you're not in my lane, I'll refer you over here because that they may be able to help you better, I'm more in this lane?
Because we handle the full range of B2C, small retail, all the way up to B2B, enormous enterprise sales, just because I've had background in all of those areas, I don't turn anybody down for that. I really have one rule. We don't work with jerks.
Well, that really limits you. What kind of strategy is that?
No, it works well, actually. I haven't regretted that decision. And I have a test, which I will not reveal in this interview, but I have a jerk test that works every time, and it tells me right away whether they're a jerk or not. And if they are, I back off. If they are not, if they do the right reaction to my little test, then we're fine. We continue. And I've never regretted that. I've never had a problem saying, I can't help you. It's, you're too small or you're too big or you're too technical or any of that. We just don't have a problem because we can research and we do have the business experience. So no, I don't have anything beyond that.
Yeah, it's key to find that out before you sign a contract.
Yes, exactly.
Before you give that retainer back. And how long does this typically take from a minimum to realistic results?
It is so client dependent.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to turn around marketing and sales departments and for big companies and medium companies. And I always thought I could do it in 3 months, and it always took 8. I don't know why it took 8. I really don't. I mean, I was just working flat out. I was usually working away from home. So I was living in a hotel and literally working from 6 in the morning till 11 o'clock at night every single day. And it was always the same. It just takes time because first you have to figure out where you're at. Then you do the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Like in one case, I increased the output of the department by 500% in the first 5 weeks. Okay, so that was nice and great. It was process that needed to be fixed. But then you have to get the right people in the right spots and everybody happy and remove the jerks that don't belong there, making everybody miserable. And then you have to work with management and come back and say, here are the things we need to fix. And do I have approval? And it just takes time, especially in the bigger companies where everything is a committee meeting discussion thing. So it depends. I don't promise, because the minute you promise, you're over-promising. You just don't know until you get into it. And there are things you learn along the way that until you started working with a client, you couldn't even realize that it was going to be a limitation.
And like, say, not so much jerk, but match. What do you look for? Are you being pulled in by the CMO, the CEO?
It's usually the business owner or the CEO.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a VP of something, like a VP. Right now I'm working for a VP of operations, but he's also running marketing. So, and that's very weird right now because nobody really knows who to give marketing to, because not all of the marketing people are successful either. So this is a very chaotic time.
It's super chaotic because, and of course everybody wants attribution and measure every little thing like that is possible.
It is pretty much. I mean, we've built dashboards now. I spent a lot of money getting dashboards up for our clients where everything they need is there. They can come in anytime and see how they're doing, and especially on the search side of things, but even the interaction and conversions. And going back to your question about how long it takes, search takes longer than AdWords, or now Google Ads, they're calling them. You can get faster results with Google Ads, but you still have to do all of that research up front, or what you do with Google isn't going to work either. But at least you get on page one, at least part of the day, with a solid message and then proper conversion and downloading and all the things you need to do after that.
Yeah, and you can really focus it. It's incredibly powerful, but insanely expensive as well.
Well, you limit your daily take, and the only problem is if you're in a real niche, you're not going to get enough data. Even within a month, you don't have enough impressions or clicks to be able to see which ads are working or not. So that's tricky too.
Now, I can see, does it not work when you have to work for a CMO? Because you get this kind of like, how do you get measured? You end up doing what the CMO gets measured on versus what works for the company?
No, I haven't had that problem.
Really?
Yeah.
You're the first.
Well, we just do the right thing. I mean, and the CMO is very open. I mean, the thing about such a chaotic market is that people really do appreciate when they find somebody who's going to work with them. Yeah. I mean, we're in this together. We're with our clients every day. I have client success managers who take care of all the details. They're fantastic. We have project managers. I've built this core team that makes marketing work the way it should. So that's all good. But you still have to work together with a client and say, okay, that didn't work. Let's talk to this person here. Maybe this will work better. How can we amplify this? I mean, we're just constantly trying to optimize and leverage what we're doing. And the problem that a lot of people have in our business, the specialists, is they'll come in and say, oh, just, give me this much money and I'm the magic bean. We're going to solve your problem. And it's never one thing. It's a combination of things, and it does require, as I mentioned at the beginning of our little talk, there's a requirement for more interaction than ever before, and customers have come to expect it. They expect chat. They expect you to reach out and try to find them and raise your hand and say, we're here. If you're not doing that, you're not competing. This is the most competitive market I've ever encountered.
Oh, it's insane. And how do you keep up with all the possible technologies that you could use?
I've been doing that since I was 17. Okay. It's just, you're never caught up. you learn new things every day. And one of the reasons that I've hired all these specialists who live, eat, and sleep and breathe their specialty is that they run across things. Or even someone, I've got a data analyst now who's fantastic, and she was doing some work on some SEO back end stuff that everybody else would find boring, and she does amazing work. And in the course of that, she found this amazing tool yesterday that, one of us actually turns out we knew about, but nobody else knew that she knew about it. And so that's part of why I have all these specialists, because they're out there every day talking to other specialists, and it helps us keep up.
And how do you organize them? Is like one on marketing automation, or is it by vertical, or is it?
It depends. So I have Google Ads people, I have social people, and some different ones for different markets, because consumer markets and B2B are very different in social. I have a core, as I mentioned, a core infrastructure team that does all the project management. I have an infrastructure specialist who's like my right hand, who's fantastic. And she does the constant searching for new tools, new infrastructure ways we can improve what we're doing. She helped guide the gal who did the dashboards for us. So I always try to find the best person in a particular area. And I even have people, I have one gal that does nothing but she's an SEO specialist, but she's really good at going out and saying, these are the things that are popular in the market for readers, and here's what your competitors are talking about. So this is what we ought to be talking about this month in your blog or whatever. So it depends.
And I think more in marketing than probably any other space, that if you can become super good at what's going to be needed, probably 12 to 18 months from now. But the problem, of course, is knowing what's going to be needed 12 to 18 months from now.
And you know what? You can't. You can't. Anybody who thinks they know the future and when it involves tech anymore, it's just, there's certain things that you would have predicted, like AT&T was running commercials about speaking to your kids on video, on some big wall-sized video back at Comdex in the 90s, and we're now doing it on our cell phones. It's really hard. And so I've learned with tech to be very unegotistical about it. You cannot be the smartest guy in the room when it comes to tech. You just have to get over it. Your ego has to be in another room somewhere. And you just have to say, okay, I learned this today. I'm going to apply it. Yeah. And oh, look, this new thing's coming. You just have to keep up as best you can. That's all you can do. And you have to dedicate yourself to that.
And that's it. And you kind of become a gambler with your time, because you got to put the bet on the thing that you think is going to happen.
That's very wise. Yes, that is correct.
Because certainly I think last year was probably the year of Facebook ads.
Mm-hmm.
This year, it's at least in the B2B space, like LinkedIn videos are super hot. Discussions.
Videos, big.
Yeah. And I think probably Instagram is much more powerful now.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. Yeah, you're up there. You're doing fine.
I do this for a living. Well, for myself. My favorite client. The only problem is he's a jerk.
That's the only problem. He's a jerk. Oh, Lord.
Cool. Hey, this has been a great conversation.
Same here.
Yeah. Where do people go to learn about your agency and your book and connect with you?
They can just type Kristin Zhivago, that's I-N, Kristin I-N, Zhivago into Google, or they can go to zhivagopartners.com, or they can go to Amazon and just type in Roadmap to Revenue. My book's in there, 5 stars.
I read it on Audible as well. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
I listened to it on Audible.
Yeah, it's good. So that's it. That's just, just typing Kristin Zhivago into Google gets you plenty. I just dominate the page.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that. Hey, make sure you check us out on LinkedIn. And B2B Revenue is the website. You get the free ebook there. You can learn about the courses. You can also check out my YouTube channel, Brian Burns Sales Podcast on YouTube, where I store both these podcasts, my videos that I do daily on sales and marketing tips. All the webinars are hosted there. So if you ever get lost and you don't know where to go, Brian Burns Sales Podcast on YouTube is a great place to be. And you can sign up to get on my calendar at B2B Revenue under training, and we can talk over your sales and marketing situations about getting you into your dream accounts in a fast, natural, organic way. And if you happen to see my content fly by on LinkedIn, I'd really appreciate a like or comment or a share, and we'll see you next time.